So good morning, everyone. I'm Ramona Kunkel from the Maryland Department of Labor. I'm one of the Adult Education Program Specialists, so thank you very much for your time this morning to talk about the ABE instructional framework using CASAS. So the whole point of this is to help you have a tool to assist you and your instructors with driving instruction. So I want to first give a little history and background for what really kind of inspired this. So back in the early 1990s, really pretty much across the board in any kind of nonprofit organization, there was some accountability, but there really wasn't a whole lot. Then in the mid-1990s, there was a United Way of America scandal. So 3 of the top positions within the national chapter defrauded the organization of $1.2 million. Due to that scandal, a lot of donators were very hesitant to continue to donate, or those who were considering donating and giving money to nonprofit organizations were a little bit more reluctant to, because they weren't quite sure where their money was going to. So United Way decided that they needed to step up their game. And they totally overhauled their entire system that included a lot more accountability. They went to the Kellogg Logic model, which included benchmarks, inputs, outputs, outcomes, milestones, and they required that programs had to supply data and accountability to United Way that they then could report out to their funders. So this really shifted really nonprofit across the board, which includes adult education. So with that, we've had more and more accountability to now where we are now. So starting next week, performance measure outcomes are going to become a driving force in how you are funded, not just at the state level, but then also at a program level. So as we like to say in our office, we are going to need to move the needle. I don't say this to be critical, but just to be realistic. Our state is not doing particularly well nationwide, so we just need to be aware of that and need to do what we can to sort of up our game and to improve our outcomes. So just a brief overview. So this is specifically not a standards document because we already have standards, and that is the College and Career Readiness Standards. That is considered the gold standard for guiding instruction. I even spoke to someone at the federal level about having standards, and she suggested that our state not develop our own, that we already have these standards. So instead of reinventing the wheel, stick with what we already have. Knowing that, the CASAS is aligned with the CCRS. So I put on here some links to some webinars that might be helpful for you. So I realize that the first one here is one from 2014, but it still helps you analyze. It still is a webinar that shows the analysis of the standards with instructional materials, and it then also shows you the CASAS alignment to CCRS, and that is at the 2-minute and 15-second mark. I also included a link to a PowerPoint presentation that is all about the CASAS goals that you might find helpful in presenting to your instructors. So, and we're going to look at the actual document at the end, but we're just going to talk about what's in the frameworks. So at the beginning, there is the ABE skills by NRS level for instructional planning. And these are just one-page documents, one-page checklist for each ABE level. And it is a compilation of skills found on both the TABE and the CASAS. And there's a little bit of skills that I felt should be thrown in there too. So it's just a way to show you what skills are appropriate for each of the NRS levels. So teachers can use these checklists for at-level planning. So they know, okay, most of my students are at the level ABE 3 level. So these are the skills that I should be teaching. It's also a reference for foundational skills. So those skills that they either should already know or can quickly learn to get them up to speed for the level where they're at now. It is also helpful in bridging skills for higher level instruction so that the instructor can see where those students are going to. Included in this checklist, and again, we're going to look at this at the end, there are references to lesson plans. So not all skills have a link to a lesson plan, but there are some skills so that instructors have an idea of what a lesson plan might look like for that skill. And we're going to talk about lesson plans a little bit later. There's also included a flow chart that just shows the progression, just a real sort of basic snapshot of assessment to instruction. So shows that the student takes the locator appraisal, then moves into completing the CASAS level test, and then it assigns the student's instructional level. We also included a chart that shows the correlation between the CASAS, the CCRS, and the NRS alignment. I know sometimes there are instructors might be a little confused as to how they all fit together. Well, this is how they all fit together. And it shows the names, the levels, the scores, the grade equivalent, just everything together so that they see what the correlation is between all these 3 different systems. So Susan from Carroll Community College put together this for her program and then shared it with me, and we included this. I've only included the screenshot of just the CASAS, but again, we'll look at this. But on this entire page, it shows the correlation between the NRS levels and the CASAS goal series with the test scores. But what is also on this is also the TABE, and we included that for those programs specifically who have NEDP. So those programs, that specific program is using CASAS, but ABE is using TABE. And I know when I taught at CCBC in the ABE program, I had students that were working to get their skills up so they could then go into the NEDP program. And we just thought that it might be helpful for those instructors to, again, see the correlation between CASAS and TABE so that they have a better understanding of where their students are and where they need to get to. Are there any questions so far? I'm going to take that as a no because I can't see the questions because I've moved things around so I can see my screen.
No questions in the chat yet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We tried to take the information that is out there about the different skills on the CASAS and formulate it into different meaningful charts and graphs. So what this is this is just a real quick snapshot of the reading goals test level A. This is bare bones, but it gets more detailed. So this just gives an instructor a real fast overview of what basic skills are taught at this level. Then, after that, we have the CASAS Reading Goals content standards for all test forms and test levels. So one of the inspirations for this was multi-level classes. There are a lot of programs out there that are so small that multi-level classes is the only way they can function. If they were to do it by level classes, they would never have any classes because they wouldn't have enough students. So this is to help specifically those teachers with knowing what skills are taught across all levels. And we are going to talk about the CASAS profiles a little bit later on. But I know that some programs really use the CASAS profiles and some use it to a lesser degree. So what this does is, and again, this is just a real small little snapshot of what's in this document. So you can see that, trying to move this around, that for the foundational literacy, that is only assessed at the A level, the CASAS A level. However, if you go down to the bottom, interpret accurately a range of general academic, technical, and domain-specific words and phrases in context, you see that that is assessed at the B, C, and D level. So that may be something that an instructor may want to keep in mind as they're working through instruction and trying to figure out, what they might want to focus on. That would be something that you could use for multiple levels. Because I know that a lot of programs that do have multi-level, they have this student doing this, they have this student doing this, and this one working over here on the computers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when I've taught multi-level, I found it really helpful to find skills that you could present to a variety of levels, and then you may want to pare it down and have them work on things that are a little bit more targeted. But it's nice to be able to present skills and information to the class as a whole, just to cut down the amount of possible overall explanation that you might need to do. So we also included the CASAS reading goals and the CASAS competencies. So again, taking the CASAS competencies and then looking to see at what level those skills are taught. Programs require different criteria for their teachers, so we wanted to include as many different ways that a program might want to pull this all together for their instruction. So we did the same thing for the math goals standards. Again, we did this by test level. So with math, it's a little bit easier, I guess you could say, because it's just levels AB, and then there's levels CD. So again, this is just a real bare bones, real basic, just general overview of what is assessed at that level. Then we get, again, to a little bit more deeper level. So again, we see that understanding place value and place value system is only taught at assessed at the AB level. It's not assessed at this CD level. Now, does it mean they don't need to know that? No, but it's just, again, to give you an idea as to what is assessed at those levels. And then again, we have perform operations with multi-digit whole number and decimals. That's going to be assessed at both the AB and the CD levels. And again, this is to let them know what specific skills are assessed on these assessments so that they have an idea as to where they might want to put their efforts in instruction. Again, we did the same thing for the CASAS competencies. So in all the forms, they use measurement and money, interpreting use and compute measurement for consumer-related purposes. Also included is the GED test competencies. This is just, I'm going to admit, simple copy and paste from the GED website directly into this document. In this document, I only included those for the level 2 passing level. So it would be for those who are looking to get a score of 145 to 164. I did not include the level 3 descriptors only because, quite honestly, most instructors have enough to teach just at the level 2 descriptor level. So if here is the link, and it's also in the guide, so that if instructors do want to bump it up and go to the level 3, that's fine, but I just included only level 2 for the purposes of this document. So we also have some appendices. So again, we're going to look at this. There's one document that has everything. There's another document that's just sort of like the main document, and then we have different appendices just to break it out and make it not be so overwhelming in case you or an instructor should want to print out something and have it so that they can carry it around with them to their classroom, wherever, and just make for a little bit more ease. So there are lesson plans. So we wanted instructors to have some sample lesson plans. So there are a variety of lesson plan templates. These are examples only. We do not want to present this as these are state mandated, or these are state sanctioned, or these are state required. They are just samples. The state is not requiring or mandating any particular template. You are free to use whatever you think fits your program best. So one template is not considered better or preferred over another template. These are just so that your instructors can see a variety. So you want to use the template for planning and preparation of instruction that works best for you, meaning the instructor or your program or your instruction specialist. The learning objectives can be drawn from either the CASAS competencies or the CCRS. You can decide how you want to drive that. Again, the state is not requiring anything one way or the other, and we are not saying that one is better than the other. So in your lesson plans, you might want to present this as you're rolling this out. So these are just my recommendations. I recommend requiring lesson plans for accountability. It just demonstrates that there is some direction for the class. I hate to say this, but I have seen instructors that walk in and they say, okay, we left off at chapter 6. So everybody turn to page 57. But there's no lesson plans. It doesn't look like they really have thought it through, like there's any direction. You just want to have something that shows that the instructor is prepared, that they have thought through where they're going to take the class during that class period. You may want to determine what lesson plan based on a program decision. You may say, this is the template that everybody's going to use. So our recommendation for the lesson plan elements that should be included are the lesson title, objectives, materials, presentation. How's the instructor going to present the material? How is that material going to be applied? And how is the instructor going to evaluate the student's mastery of that information? So in another appendix, we have the CCRS for mathematics by instructional level, and then another one for reading. So Susan Lehman from Carroll created this chart for her program and graciously shared it with our work group and agreed to allow it to be included in this document. So again, this shows just a nice little snapshot of the different skills that are taught at the different NRS EFL levels within the sort of subcategories. So this is what is in the number system. And again, this is just one little piece of that chart. Did the same thing. Now this comes directly from the CCRS document. But again, we wanted everything to be pulled together in one easy to find place so that teachers don't have to bounce around from document to document, website to website, trying to find this information. Just wanted it here for ease of use. So this is what is pulled together for the reading. So there is also, so the writing is included and the language is included in this document. The writing is not assessed on the CASAS. However, it is assessed for the NETP and the GED tests. And it is needed for college and career readiness. So while it is not directly assessed on CASAS, we don't want to minimize the importance of writing for their future goals. Language is included, but it is only used by correctional ed, but we do not want to leave them out, so it is included in this document. Then we also have what you're probably used to seeing, the NRS level charts, and this comes right from their documents. It shows the scale score for each of the documents, levels 1 through 6. It shows the basic reading divided by reading and writing, and then the numeracy skills. And I've included the link to the PDF file from where these documents and charts came from. So I included these because this is something that you might want to use as you roll this out to your instructor. So I've included some sample profiles here in case you may or may not be familiar with these, just to help you. So one of the things that we came up with was using these profiles for an activity with your instructors. So again, these are just some samples. You can use these if you want. You can use ones from your own program. It doesn't matter, but they're here for you to use if you choose to. So I've just included a couple of them. So this is student A. So this is the information that is included on this student's profile based on their reading level D. And so we can see their reading competencies. We can see the college and career readiness standards and the reading content areas and where they may need some more instruction and other areas where they seem to be doing fairly well. But I will say, even if they're doing well in an area, that's actually a good starting point to use for including with areas that they may need other, may need more help. So here we have that they did really well on analyzing claim. So you may want to incorporate that in with drawing conclusions so that they have a skill that they're already seem to be proficient in with a skill that they need to work on. So here's also student A, and this is the student's math profile. Again, it shows the math competencies and it shows the CCRS math content areas and how well they did. And then also on the profile, it shows you the reading and the math tasks. Again, another student, this is student B, another reading level D, math level A and B, and then also this student's reading and math tasks. And then one more student, student C. This student only took the math, and this is level C and CD. So the work group came up with this idea for a group activity. So you may want to create classroom appropriate student profiles. They could either be for level instruction, or you could do this with the assumption that you're going to do this for multi-level instruction. You can take your instructors, divide them into groups, and that's up to you how you want to divide them. You know, maybe you want to divide them up and say, okay, all the multi-level instructors are going to go in one group. You know, all the ABE 1, 2, and 3, level instructors are going to go into another group. However you want to do it, and what makes sense for your program, that's what you can do. Then, based on the local program instructional design to affect measurable skills gains. So you just want to make sure that their lesson plan should be based on, how can we improve measurable skills gains. Once they've done that, you can ask them to create a reading lesson plan as a group and a math lesson plan based on the student profiles. They can look at the examples that we've provided. You may decide that you want to use a totally different template. You can have them use that template. Then you can ask them to share the lesson plans with the entire group. So why did they choose the topic that they chose? What extended activities could be included? And what could be the next lesson to tie to this lesson? So, have them thinking about future lessons and moving forward. So I included some follow-up because I'm going to be the first one to admit that when I was an instructional specialist, I was not always real good with the follow-up part of professional development. So I would encourage some follow-up after this, which could include classroom observations and looking at lesson plans and thinking critically about those. Is the instructor meeting the learner's needs? Are their lesson plans matching the class profiles? Are they matching, what skills are to be taught? Are the lessons at the appropriate level for the learners? Meaning they're not Are they not challenging enough, or are they too challenging? Ask yourself, do the lessons include tasks and skills that are appropriate? So are those tasks and skills appropriate for the lesson, for the level that they are teaching? You may want to teach with, you may want to meet with your instructors one-on-one. I know of at least one instructor who teaches at a medium to large size program who meets with every single one of her instructors at the end of the year, maybe even at the end of the semester, but I know at least at the end of the year. And just to go over, their results, what went well, what didn't go well, or you may decide to just meet with your instructors if you feel that it's necessary. I know of one instructional specialist, she has since retired, but she would create charts for every single instructor and meet with them one-on-one and talk about where their performance fell in relationship to the program as a whole. And she admitted that she did use that to help determine future employment of instructors. Now, that doesn't mean that you get rid of an instructor because one time they had a bad semester, but it does help to determine where that instructor might need some help and if they need some support, and maybe they need a mentor. And if over time there isn't improvement, it may help you decide whether or not you want to continue to keep that instructor or not. So before we get to questions, I just want to look at the document real quick. So this is what it looks like on the Google Drive. So this is the entire frameworks right here, down at the very bottom. So at the bottom left-hand corner. If you go 2 over on the bottom, the third one over, this is just the main part only. Up top, on the top row, we have the appendices. So this is the full lesson plan. This is then the CCRS charts. These are the NRS charts. And the last one you're not going to have to worry about because this is totally separate for TABE only. So I just want to look at this real quickly, specifically to show you so it has a user guide that talks about each of the different sections to help you and your instructors, get it's just an explanation as to what is in each one of those sections. So we have what you've already seen, but here is the checklist that I was referring to. So we put up top, what the scale score is, and then here's just a real basic checklist so that at ABE 1 level, these are the skills that should be taught, and hopefully that they know by the end of completion of this level. So you'll see a little bit, about a third of the way down in the reading skills, it says interpret basic contractions, see Appendix 1A. So in Appendix 1A, which is the full lesson plans on the first page, starts a lesson plan on basic contractions. So there is a lesson plan for each of the levels 1 through 5. We did not include level 6 because that is GED, and that's really guided by the GED book and curriculum. So we focused on ABE levels 1 through 5. So each level has a reading skills, has a math skills, and has a functional and workplace skills section to them. Each one of those has at least one lesson plan. Because we had more people in our work group than we had levels, and ABE 3 tends to be a pretty highly populated level, we did increase more lesson plans here. You'll see there's a lot of Appendix A61. That's because that lesson plan has multiple skills attached to it. So we just wanted to make you aware of that. Let me see. I'm going to fast forward. So you've already seen all these. So you can see, there's one thing that I want to draw your attention to, and that is in the math section. You will see that there are some, and this is notated in the user guide, that there are some with solid circles and some with hollow circles. Those solid circles mean that those skills are directly assessed in those levels. The hollow circles mean they are not assessed on the CASAS, but as a work group, we felt that those were skills that should be taught. So we wanted to make that clear that while they're not directly assessed, they are still important skills for them moving forward, either educational-wise or employment-wise. So then, as I said, here is the GED competencies pulled right from the GED website. I also want to note real quick, and I'm sorry I'm scrolling around so much, that each one of these, I did include the link where all of this information came from. So if you want to go to the direct source, those sources are included in this document. Before I ask for any questions, I feel like I should publicly thank those who put in a lot of time and effort into this document. So I want to just read off, it's a short list of those who were on the work group: Linda Jeffrey from Hagerstown, Susan Lehman from Carroll, Angela Marshall from Frederick, Carol McDonald from CCBC, Joy Messick from Chesapeake, and Deborah Miller from Allegheny. I also want to thank Gina Davis, who did proofreading, and Doug Weimer for his help with putting this all together in this format. Just want to thank everybody for their hard work. So at this time, I would like to take any questions. Or if anybody would like to share any suggestions as to how they think they might want to roll this out in their program. Again, this is just a suggestion. You can certainly adapt it to whatever you think is most appropriate for your program, for your students, for your instructors. You know them best. I do also want to say this. Please, if you have any questions, if there's any way that I can help you and support you with this process, you are more than welcome to reach out to me and to contact me, and I will assist you in whatever way I can. So thank you.
Jessie says she lost her volume switching. Jessie, did you have a question? You can unmute yourself if you'd like. No, she left. Okay. If anyone has any questions, you can either unmute yourself or share it with us in the chat.
So this is Jennifer Mitchell. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
This is amazing, and I love the checklist by levels and the example lessons, sample lessons. Very useful. We have a lot of multi-level classes, so I love the idea of a group where you sit down and really look at your class and what levels you have, and then find those like common elements that can benefit the whole group, because that's a struggle sometimes to make sure you're addressing everyone's needs. So it really looks so useful. I'm impressed.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that was really kind of what inspired this, was multi-level, because absolutely, it's very challenging to try and figure out, what's going to be useful for all levels. So yeah, that's what we were hoping that this document would do, is make that process a little easier.
Thank you.
Did anybody else have any comments or questions?
Hi, Gina, this is Fatwi.
Hi, Fatwi.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation, and I really appreciate the work you have done. Since I started as instructional specialist, I was trying to do the same thing, but one person is difficult to do it. Therefore, when we review the syllabus, we try to put some of the ideas, but still I have to work again looking at the document. And probably whenever I need any help, I can share with you the syllabus, and then you can look and review for us. Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely. If there's something that you want me to look at, if there's something, that, you are struggling to figure out how to move forward, please, by all means, reach out, and I will be more than happy to, walk you through that process, as best as I can.
Thank you.
Okay, well, great. Like Ramona said, if you guys do have additional questions, you know how to reach us. Additionally, oh, you're welcome, Linda. Yes, thank you, Ramona. You didn't thank yourself, but you deserve a lot of praise. This is a bear of a document, so we appreciate your spearheading this. And yes, it's going to be a useful tool, so we definitely appreciate that. This is recorded, and I'll put it up on my YouTube as soon as the recording is available, and we'll disperse it to all the programs. So thank you guys for joining us this morning, and I hope everyone enjoys their afternoon and stay safe.
Yes, again, thank you all for your time and your attention, and for everything that you do for the programs and for your students. I know that you work very hard and really appreciate your efforts and your work.